Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scary-ish Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz,
Hello.
And during these episodes, we read your homegrown horrors that you folks sent to us. Adam, tell us what those are.
I was waiting for my cue. Homegrown horrors are the stories that you folks have collected. They're either yours, a friend, a family member's, and they're either creepy, spiritual, scary, sometimes horrifying, sometimes sleep paralysis, night terrors, sometimes true crime, but that you would like to share with us. Now, there's two kinds. There's the kind that we get most often, which is the kind you would like us to share on these Storytime episodes with the listeners. And there's the kind that you want to keep private. You just want to tell someone because you don't want to feel like you're crazy. We get both of those. Either way, just let us know which one they are. And if you would like us to share it, we would be more than happy to share it. Robin, why don't you let folks know how they can send us a story?
If you folks want to send us your stories, you can send them to storytime@scaryish.com. That's our email. We have a website. It's called scaryish.com. If you go to that website, there is a contact us page. And I almost said about us again. There's a contact us page. You just fill out that form and it sends it to us that way.
Indeed. So we would love to hear from you if you have a story to share. We would love to share it on the show. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go first. We have like short, medium, long tonight. Maybe short, long, medium, long. I don't know. So I have the short one. So I'm going to read that one first. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay.
You do you, girl.
So this first one subject is story, which is pretty direct. So it goes like this. Hey, Scary-ish. Hello. I'll speak on behalf of Scary-ish, I suppose. I'm from a smallish town in Illinois, and my name is Abby. I have a ghost story. My friend was into paranormal stuff, so she had a crystal pendulum, which is said to contact spirits. So me, her, and one more friend decided to play with it at her house. Her house is haunted. Wow, that's a great thing to be doing in a haunted house. We have heard footsteps when no one is home and other noises without causes, but we decided to play with the pendulum. You ask a question, and if it spins one way, it means yes. The other way is no, and the faster and higher is the more powerful the spirit. We decided to ask the spirit in her house some questions, and it was okay at first. But it started to get weird. We started to hear noises and then asked if it was them, and they said yes and made it spin fast. I have more stories from her house if you want to hear them, and it's okay for you to share this, and you can use my name. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sending that in. Very abrupt ending. I'm happy that it didn't escalate and there was no demon involved. But yeah, I wonder how you sign off when you're using the pendulum so that you can close the gateway or whatever, rather than with a Ouija board where you have to slide the thing to goodbye and then close the board up or whatever. So interesting. Send us more stories from that house and let me know how that works because I'm very curious now.
Cool.
So thank you for sending that to us.
So this next message or email, that's what those things are called, begins, Hello. I found your podcast on Google Play. Ooh.
Wow.
You know, there's a Google Podcast app. I think we've brought it up before, and I think it's a lot more intuitive than Google Play.
I haven't used Google Play in a long time because a lot of times, and this is back in the Nerd Chill days, our episodes wouldn't drop even the same day. And they're dropping everywhere else, and then Google Podcasts came out, and that drops immediately. It's always on time.
I really enjoy Google Podcasts because it's easier to keep track of the podcasts that I'm listening to and how the episodes I'm in the middle of are and stuff like that.
Hey, but if Google Play works for you,
yeah.
Shout out to you, shout out to Google Play. Thank you for listening.
It continues. I've been addicted. Thank you.
We're glad.
So amazing and hilarious. Thank you so much. Thank you. I listen to your podcast while I'm at work and driving home, which is kind of a bad idea. Driving home, I have to drive through rows of pecan trees. Pecan. Everyone says it differently. I said pecan once, and someone was like, pecan's something that you keep under your bed. And I was like,
what's
ew?
A pecan?
Yeah.
That's fucking
so
gross.
I was like, pecan? So, these nut trees. And in the middle of nowhere at night, that's terrifying. I don't think even driving through corn when we're in Indiana, it freaks me out.
Yeah, she was not, and I told her, you should probably go slow. There's deer everywhere. And then a second later.
There was a deer?
It was 3 deer crossing the road. Yeah. I was like, I told you.
Well, my family has a long history with paranormal stuff. I have one specific story I would like to share. It's about a skinwalker. There's different emotes in this that are emotes that you don't normally type in. They're the super cute ones that you have to, I don't know, have an app for or something because they're absolutely adorable.
I'm glad that you got this email then because I would have been like, is this a misspelling or something?
We lived in New Mexico at the time, and the house we were living in always had a weird, eerie feeling, especially at the end of the hallway, where our mother's room was at, and the air always felt thick. Besides always having that feeling of being watched, things in the house would always shift around or even be thrown. One night, my older sister and I were taking the trash out. I was standing on the porch while she was walking around because the trash bins were in the back alleyway. Across the street was an auto shop with a lot of old rusty cars, and at the corner was the street light. While waiting for my sister to get closer, we both at the same time stopped and spotted something massive moving fast underneath the cars.
That's super creepy.
That's super creepy.
It couldn't have been that massive if it was underneath the car. Maybe not like high up off the ground.
But maybe it was wide.
Yeah. Ooh, my God. I just had this picture of a giant spider, and I don't like it.
No, I'm thinking more like a shadow slithering underneath the cars.
I'd rather have that than an actual spider that was just really big.
It then stood in the light and made a sound I have never heard before. It kind of looked like a dog, but the upper body was much larger than the back, and it looked very mangy. Sounds like a werewolf. Closest thing I can think of was maybe a mixture of a hurt cat and a goat is the sound. I'm thinking.
Sounds like a chupacabra.
Maybe.
Just because you said goat, I just decided to go with chupacabra.
Well, what does a goat sound like?
Goat.
Meh, meh. Is that a sheep? I don't even know.
That is a sheep, but I think goats bleat
sound the
too.
same?
Yeah. Like goat.
My sister looked at me saying, "What the hell was that?" I told her that I have no idea and I don't want to know. So we both ran inside, leaving the trash, and locked the door. After seeing that creature, things started to get really weird the next couple days. At night, it sounded like goats were around the house. I would just ignore it and listen to music, believing that it was just my imagination. My mom and I left the house, leaving my older sister alone at home. I had this really, really, really bad feeling when leaving, but I went anyways. I now know to not ignore my gut feelings. We were gone for about 2 hours before my mom got a call from my older sister. I could hear her and she sounded very panicked and scared. We quickly got up and headed home. While driving up, my sister was standing underneath the streetlight waiting for us. When we got there, she was shaking and crying. We had asked her what happened, and what she told us really was frightening. So this is going to be her side of the story. I had just finished doing my laundry, turned all the lights off before going to my room to fold the clothes. I started listening to music and I heard the car pull up the driveway and the car doors closed. The front door opened and I heard you talking to Mom. So this is from the sister.
Her explaining it. Yeah, I gotcha.
So I heard you talking to Mom in the living room, so I just assumed you guys were home already. I opened my door and Mom came up to the doorway. I asked her a few questions and that was it. At the time, my mom was pregnant, so I closed my door and started folding more clothes. I noticed there was a shirt that wasn't mine, so I was going to go ask if it was my mom. When I opened the door, all the lights in the house were off like nobody ever came home. So I stepped into the hallway and instantly felt cold and heard breathing behind me.
That's so fucking creepy.
I felt its heavy footsteps on the floor and it started to get closer. I was frozen in fear. When it was extremely close, I finally got myself to move and ran down the hallway. While running, I heard/felt footsteps running behind me, chasing me. So I kicked the door open and ran across the street into the streetlight. And that's the end of her side of the story. After hearing what happened to her, my mom called her friend that was a native healer. She showed up with sage and a lot of other trinkets. She had told us that it was a skinwalker and it had attached itself to my sister. So was it that thing then that pretended to be the mom and was just in the house?
That's
that
so
way?
Creepy, dude.
My sister usually always touches our mom's stomach when she sees her, but that time she didn't. The healer said if she had, it would have taken her. She also said that for it to take a form of someone that is pregnant shows how dark this thing is, because babies are pure, so they can't pretend to be pregnant.
Aww.
That's crazy. That's like super terrifying. Blessings didn't work. Everything got worse. Long story cut short, we moved out.
Wow.
But even now today, we see our mom and we know it isn't her.
What?
My stepdad, grandma, sister, me and my neighbors have all seen my mother. So it's like they see her, but it's not her. Like she's somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
And they see this person that's supposed to...
They see an imposter.
Yeah.
I was like, have they usurped her spot? But now I get
No,
it.
yeah.
Like, they just randomly see their mom, and it's like, that's not my mom.
Yeah.
My mom's over there.
So sorry if this is too long. You can share this on the pod if you like. Love you guys. That's super creepy.
That's terrifying.
That's super terrifying. That people see her and they just know, like, that's not her, you know? I wonder if it's the fact that she still looks pregnant when she's no longer pregnant,
right,
or something like that, you know?
There's two rational explanations, but they're both still pretty terrifying. One is that she has a twin, some sort of evil twin. And the other is that there's some form of doppelganger out there who just looks like her, like in Vampire Diaries. And I hate that I know that. I really do. But it's Robin's fault, so...
Adam even showed me. He went out of his way to be like, Nina Dobrev does have a doppelganger. And it's another actress that looks like her.
Yeah, and someone commented like, she really does have a doppelganger. But yeah, doppelganger, evil twin. I guess the twin doesn't have to be evil, but I don't know why they'd be messing around like this. Or skinwalker. These are all terrifying things. But still, thank you for sending us that story. And I don't think I'll sleep well tonight. So
nice.
Good work. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. So I'm going to move into my second story of the show. This one's subject is my homegrown horrors. Strap in, y'all. This is going to be a little bit long. That's me saying it to you because I see how long the scroll bar is for this. So,
all right, Doc.
Starts out like this. Hey, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello, what's up? My name is Nick, and I've been listening, in parentheses, originally typed watching, LOL. Quarantine has messed me up, and I'm typing this at 2:30 a.m. on a Thursday. Since the very beginning. That was a really, really long tangent within a sentence, but hey, I understand. I'm all caught up.
We're all about the tangents.
Right? I mean, just before this episode, or just before this story started, we had a 5-minute tangent about Overwatch, so that's just how things go with this podcast. I'm all caught up, and I've started going back through all the episodes. Gotta say, my favorite episode is when you guys tell the monkey's paw story. I remember the episode, but I cannot find it, LOL. And The Raven. I wish you guys could do more horror story readings like that, maybe some Lovecraft stories. I really did want to do The Raven so deeply.
Yeah, he was just so excited about it. So excited about it.
I love that story. I love that Simpsons episode.
We should do the heart one.
The Telltale Heart.
The Telltale Heart. That one would be cool.
I agree.
It's just fun to read different things.
I
but
like
we
just being super over the top when I read things, so it's fun. The email continues. I don't exactly know why it took me this long to send an email. However, I've got a few weird stories I can't explain. I'm not religious at all, so I don't think it's ghosts or anything. Because of my books, there's a logical explanation for everything, even if we can't explain it. There's a story about mental health which isn't really quote-unquote scary, but scary-ish. Well played. Now, please excuse me if this is too long for the podcast, but if it's not, feel free to use these stories. The first one is titled, My Phone is Dead? With a question mark at the end of it.
My phone was dead, like, for half the day today.
Yep, it was. The first story happened when I was in high school. I would go to bed every night around 11 p.m. Wow, that's really early. Like, I can't remember the last time I went to bed at 11 p.m.
I think I went to bed last night at 5.
Yeah.
The sun was up.
I would plug my phone into the charger, and when I woke up, it would be full on battery for the day. One night, I forgot to plug my phone in. Obviously, when I woke up, it was dead. So I plugged it in and waited for the icon to pop up to show that it was charging.
Man, remember when you had to plug your phone in?
Now you can just set it down on the osmosis chargers.
Yeah.
Those are just like a miracle of modern science that everyone just overlooks. Like, you don't have to plug shit in. Like, energy will absorb through your case into your phone. Like, how do we look past that?
Remember when you were a little kid? For us, our generation, right? Because we're a lot older.
We're in our 30s.
We had to plug our phones in, but as a little kid, you're like, ooh, this is new technology, right?
Look at how fast it charges.
I fucking used to lick the tips of the charger.
That's so bad for your phone.
No, I licked... You're a kid. You're like...
An idiot.
Fuck, I was probably like 6, 7, maybe 8, and I used to lick the chargers because you'd get like a little buzzing because so you'd feel like the electricity. Maybe that's why I'm fucking stupid. But I
used to put forks in the sockets because it really made my heart
I put
just
tweezers
skip a
into
beat.
a socket once.
Yep. Okay, we're moving towards the Robin's Pretty Dumb category now. All right, so plug the phone in and then walked away. That's where we were at. And then I went to chill out before I got ready for school. Usually I would go upstairs. Yes, my room is in the basement. I would go watch TV and eat breakfast for a couple hours before going to catch the bus. Damn, you got up early. About 30, I would wake up and like run to my car, speed to school, and get to like first period as the last bell was ringing and just barely make it every day. About 30 minutes before needing to go to the bus stop, I went back downstairs and saw that my phone didn't charge at all. At first, I was convinced my charger was just broken, which has happened to me a lot because I suck at taking care of wires. You sound like a cat. However, when I went to pull the wire out of the socket, it wasn't there anymore. I followed the wire and found the plug on the floor. There's no reason that I can think of that would result in the plug coming out of the socket.
It's like that video that you see on the internet where it's like,
the
demon's hand is blocking your outlet.
Everyone was still asleep when I usually got up because I would have to wake them up before I left, and my cat Bella, in parentheses, I'll attach a picture of my Omen baby. She's a Bengal who loves to play with plastic straws, was upstairs the entire time. I should also mention that when I went back downstairs, the door to my room was completely shut. I told this to my mom, who is religious and does believe in ghosts, and she laughed and said that it was my grandfather from her side of the family. I never got to meet him because he died when I was very little. He had schizophrenia and was just not in good shape.
Yikes.
I keep a picture of him hung on my wall and still have the chair he was holding me in the picture. It's a very comfortable chair. It's my favorite. Anyway, my mom explained how he was such a prankster when he was alive and how he would play pranks on her and the rest of the family before he was diagnosed. So even though I'm not religious, I like to think it was him playing around with me.
Aww.
That's a good story.
That is a good story. It's nice to have
a positive outlook.
Right.
Especially living in a basement. I mean, you're probably not too worried about basements, but a lot of people are scared about basements, like Robin here.
Yeah, my sister has a basement, and I did not go down to the basement that entire time.
They had the laundry down there. I had to do all the laundry. I think it was just a really long, played-out excuse to make me do the laundry when we were on vacation. But either way, the email continues. This next story is called Aliens, White Tigers, and Men in Black. Oh my. That's a lot of stuff for one story. In the previous story, I mentioned my grandfather who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now, he was a truck driver from mine and my family's understanding, he took a lot of drugs to keep him awake and put him to sleep while being on the road, and from what we understand, that could have brought out the schizophrenia, and because it can be passed down through certain generations, I have a good chance at developing it.
That's scary.
There's a thing that I've always done, because like I've mentioned before, my brother's schizophrenic, where like my entire life I sort of like set milestones, like this is the year that Vince was when he had his first freak out. Like, this is the year he
Your brother.
Yeah, Vince is my brother. And, like, that he had his first hospitalization. And, like, this was the worst one. And I, like, picked those ages, like, just make it past that age. Just make it past that age. And that was a legitimate fear of mine for a very long time. Now I'm 35, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. Like, I'm angry occasionally, but I'm not, like, suffering from what my brother goes through. So I totally empathize with what you're talking about here. All right. Anyway, my mom would tell me stories of some of the things he would see and hear because it made him into a very paranoid person and eventually homeless. Sorry for the bummer paragraph, but these are quite interesting and funny, and as a filmmaker, I'm weaving some of these into a script for a future movie.
Oh, nice.
So let's start. Unfortunately, I don't remember a whole lot about the aliens. I just remember my mom telling me that he would, quote-unquote, see UFOs in the night sky. I think she did mention triangle-shaped UFOs. Secondly, the Men in Black. Now, every morning, my mom would get woken up by her dad, and he would wake up the whole family at like 5 a.m. because he was paranoid that these Men in Black were on their way to kill him, so he would gather everyone up in the car and drive around for hours until he deemed it safe to go back home.
Wow.
It kind of makes me sad that he was this paranoid about it, and it makes me realize how serious and scary this mental illness can be, not only for the person suffering from it, but for their loved ones too. Honestly, as a mental illness, it's one of the hardest things that it's one of the hardest things that family or friends can deal with. Yeah. Because it just destroys lives. But this last story always cheered me up and makes me wish I could have met him and heard these stories from the man himself. The story about the white tiger. It was after school and my mom was walking home. She lived close to a convenience store, so she would have to walk past it every day before and after school to get home. As she gets home, her dad runs to the door and hugs her. At this point, my mom, who was kind of confused and was asking what was wrong. Her dad looked at her and said, "Did you walk past the convenience store?" My mom looked at him and said, "Yeah, why?" He replies with, "I was out getting smokes when I came out, and when I came out, there was a white tiger lying in front of the store."
Whoa.
I can't exactly remember what my mom's reaction to that was, but this one was my favorite story my mom would tell me about when she was little. I've always loved tigers after hearing that story.
That's cute.
This is a side tangent, and I try not to do these in the middle of your guys' emails, but we had a party probably right before I left Indiana, and we had a bunch of family members over, and my brother was having a really difficult time at that point. And you never knew what he was saying, if it was true or not, or if it was some sort of delusion. And when he was like outside on the deck, we were all outside in the yard because we had like a tent. And it got like really nasty outside. It didn't start raining, but it was like dark gray, kind of turning green, where we thought like we're all going to have to go in the basement type of thing. And he walked out on the deck and he was by himself. And I swear to God, a giant pelican flew up, landed on our deck right next to my brother. This thing was fucking huge. It was like the size of him.
No way.
I swear to God, it landed next to him and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? He like turned and looked at it and it like looked at him and it stayed next to him for like a minute. And everyone's like, holy shit, what's going on? And I remember thinking when that happened, like, if that happened and no one else was around and he told people, no one would fucking believe him. Everyone would be like, oh, Vince is on his bullshit again. But like, it 100% happened and we all got to see it. And I was like, it's so messed up that bizarre stuff happens to people who have like, quote unquote, like less credibility with their friends or family. So if something extraordinary does happen, like you just kind of discount it like, oh, there couldn't have been a white tiger. But in a lot of cases, yeah, there was. And it's so much harder for someone who's struggling to delineate like fact from fiction or fantasy from reality when bizarre shit keeps happening like that. So I remember that one very clearly. So that just like reminded me of it. The next one's called Turn Off That Damn Light. For my first story, I gave a little insight into my morning routine when I was in high school. This story also takes place the morning before school. So one day I woke up, went upstairs, and ate a small breakfast and lay down on the couch. This is probably around 6:30 a.m. I felt fine, but as I laid down, I started to feel a little tired, which is pretty normal, as I usually woke up around 7. I decided to take a nap. When I woke up, however, in the corner of my eye, I saw a brightly lit orb floating around my head, floating about head level from my kitchen all the way up to my front door. At first, I thought this was a car light, and this was quickly disproven. I do live by a busy road, however, the window that faces the road is blocked by 2 other houses before you actually get to the road. Mind you, everyone was still sleeping. My cat was right beside me, and all of the house's lights were off. I'm not a morning person, so I keep all the lights off. It's been about 5-ish years since that happened, and even since, I still have seen things I can't explain, but I've never seen anything like that after that occurred. That's really
crazy.
Weird. Just like a bizarre light just floating over the top of you. The last story is titled, Keep Your Door Open. In my basement, we use dehumidifiers to keep the place dry and make sure mold does not grow. We couldn't fit one into my room specifically, so we had 2 out in the main area of the basement, and my parents would always tell me to keep my bedroom door open so the humidity from my room could be sucked up by the dehumidifiers. Considering they are so freaking loud, I always kept my door shut. One day, I was out in the main room playing video games, probably Final Fantasy 15 at the time. I was addicted to that game for so long.
It's not that long ago, right? Final Fantasy 15?
3-4 years, maybe?
No way.
We were in this house when Final Fantasy 15 came out.
Yeah, I was going to say. But like, World of Final Fantasy came out, and Final Fantasy 15, I feel like, came out like
I think it was 3 years
a year
ago.
later.
I'm pretty sure it was 2017 or 2018. So.
Oh my god.
All right, Final Fantasy 15. I got up to stretch, and I was about to go to the bathroom until out of the corner of my eye, I saw my bedroom door swing open. Now, I will admit that my door is incredibly easy to open, and usually I just push it open. I don't even need to turn the knob. At first, I thought maybe it was my cat, Bella. When I went upstairs, my cat was down the stairs, my cat went down the stairs right past me. Then I thought, well, maybe it's the dehumidifiers. That wasn't the case either because we have those things going 24/7 and that's never happened before or after that day. Lastly, all of my family were upstairs, so there was no reason for that door to open by itself. I will say I'm happy you didn't go into the room because it seemed like something evil was inviting you in there and you're like, nope, going upstairs, fuck that. The email wraps up with, again, sorry for the long email. I do have more stories if you would like to hear them. I thought it would be a little different talking about a mental illness that seems so scary to a lot of people and possibly shed some light on it and show that these are still real people too.
Yeah.
These are difficult times we are living in, and if you need help, make sure to talk to someone, catch up with old friends, talk to family you usually don't talk to, stay safe, and keep on creeping on. Sincerely, Nick M. Thank you for sending that in, Nick.
Thank you, yeah.
It's a really good thing to consider because I think we used to get more like this, that, handle serious topics like that, but it is important to think and, especially for the folks that are suffering from mental illnesses and the folks that are suffering through it with them. It sucks. It can be very, very difficult, but out of that you can get some like bizarre and funny stories, and it's not a horrible thing to retell those. So we're happy you sent those in, and we're happy that you survived living in that basement for so long. That's a good thing. So, right on.
So I'm going to get into our next email here. Is it the last one of the...
It is the last one.
Oh, it's the last one of the night. Okay, so It goes. It's from Jay Valor on Facebook. And it goes like this. I've been listening to the podcast almost every day. Nice. With that said, I have plenty of unusual stories, but this one was one of my scariest life events.
Sounds intense.
When I was in high school, my family finally settled into a house, and I got to pick the larger room upstairs, above the kitchen, as my own room. Lucky. So lucky. Well, fast forward to when I was 20. My mother and siblings were out of town, and I was home alone. It was, of course, 3 a.m. when I could hear banging and knocking from downstairs. I immediately jumped to conclusions, thinking my house was haunted, but then when I was finally awake, I knew it couldn't be that. I've lived in haunted places before and never experienced such loud banging. What's funny is you laughed because you were thinking perverted things.
I heard loud banging. That's all I heard.
Growing up, in my house, I lived on the second story and people lived downstairs. But as a kid, you don't think about the fact that you can hear sounds from downstairs. So I would hear dragging of chairs across the ground and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I would think I would look out into our kitchen, is someone dragging chairs across the floor? And I'd be like, oh my God, haunted ghosts.
Wow.
But it wasn't. It was just people downstairs.
I've mentioned it before. I think the most terrifying thing that happened to me as a kid was I always thought I heard footsteps of someone approaching me, thump, 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 and the more scared I got, the faster it went.
But it was your heart?
It was my heart. I was just listening to my heartbeat because I had my face pressed, my ear pressed as hard into the pillow as I could. So I was just hearing the pulse through my ear. So,
all right. So
Jay Valor says, "This is my story. I wish it had been sexy banging. LOL."
Also, thank you for supporting my Kickstarter.
Yeah, shout out to you.
All right. So continuing on, I got up pissy that I'd been woken up, thinking maybe it was my family coming home earlier than planned for their vacation. Turns out my house wasn't haunted. My family wasn't home. My house was being broken into.
That's terrifying.
That's scary. That is 100% way more scary. Oh my God. I panicked, and I mean, it's not... Okay, ghosts are scary too, but being broken into is fucking scary. I panicked and rushed back into my bedroom after catching a look at two very dark figures bumbling around this downstairs. I locked the door, stared at my basset hound, and knew what I had to do. Why didn't your dog start barking?
Self-preservation, man.
I grabbed my phone and knew I couldn't make it downstairs and out of the house safely with my doggo in tow, because basset hounds are big.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are really big. I did the next best thing. I ran to my window and climbed up onto my roof using the same tree I used to sneak out of the house.
That is smart as hell.
And in pure desperation and adrenaline, got myself and my dog onto the roof.
Wow.
In the end, I called the cops. They came and arrested the two guys without issue. When they called to see where I was yelling from the roof and begged one of them to help me down because I was crying and shaking uncontrollably.
Wow.
They ended up calling the fire department like I was a stuck cat in a tree. I spent the night at the fire department, and when I called my mom to tell her what happened, she didn't believe me, and I packed up my dog, a bag, and never went back.
Wow, dude.
Wow. That's intense, dude.
How do you not believe?
That your kid called someone broke in. They called the cops.
There's a police report.
People
the
got
fucking
arrested.
Firefighter. You had your phone too.
Oh,
I
my
hope
God.
you took pictures. Hope you went Facebook Live for that whole experience.
I'll send more stories later, knowing you guys have a backlog. No worries. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much for sending that in. That is so scary. Seriously, people breaking into my house, so scary. A big, huge fear. I don't know. I always just, it's just a terrifying thought.
So terrifying concept of someone has invaded your home.
Yes.
And it's
someplace
that
you would feel safe,
What do they want? Yeah, they shatter that peace in mind of this is where I go. This is my place. I pay for this place. So that is horrifying, and we're happy you're okay. I'm also kind of pissed off that your mom didn't believe you. That's super shitty. So I would have packed a bag and took my dog and got the fuck out too. So thank you for sending that in.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone who sent their stories to us this week. We sincerely appreciate when you folks share stuff that is near and dear to your heart. Sometimes, it takes a while to write a story because you realize it's very personal. And we hear a lot of times people say, I don't know why it took me so long to write, and we understand that. But if you have a story you would like to share, we would like to hear it. So please email storytime@scarish.com or go to scarish.com and click on Contact Us. Fill out that form. It comes directly to us. You can also go to any of our social medias that you prefer and hit us up if you would like to. Facebook.com/ScarishPodcast. Our Twitter is @ScarishPod, and our Instagram is @ScarishPodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate, how can they do so?
you can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Whole bunch of different tiers. It's a monthly little donation program they have over there. You can check out what we have to offer. Tiers start at $8. You can go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. Those are one-time donations. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup, keep the podcast going, stay motivated, live our lives.
Indeed. And I gotta say, we record these episodes live Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is completely different than it would be if you just listened to these when they come out on Fridays. It's an experience, it's fun, it's interactive. Like right now, we have a bunch of people in our chat that are tossing out different ways that you can pick up someone with ridiculous pickup lines, and it's been really fun. I thank everyone who watches us live because you always make it amazing. So if you haven't done it before, try it out. Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Go to twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/scarish. And, watch us record these and hang out with us a little bit. It's a really good time. And, I think that's just about everything we got for this episode 123 of Storytime. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.